CJ Peterson, and welcome to The Journey is Real, where we talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. Today, my guest is Chris Chapman. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, CJ. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to bring on the value today.
Awesome. Oddly enough, Chris's passion is bringing out a passion in other people. So I was really excited about it when I found that out. Can you explain to those who are listening how you do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as you mentioned, my passion really is other people. It really, for me, boils down to three things. It's really to inspire, create, and motivate. So inspire others to reach their full potential, create opportunities for others, and really just motivate others to succeed. So really where this passion comes from is growing up, and we can touch on this in a few moments, but I unfortunately saw a lot of individuals not reach their full potential. So I think there's a lot of people out there who have big dreams, big goals, big aspirations, but they're not kind of at that level where they can reach their full potential. So one of my main passions is really just investing not only in people in general, but really investing in relationships and helping people find their purpose, find their vision, and just overall like succeed at their goals. Because again, like I said, it's unfortunate when you see somebody, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, you see this individual with so much potential and they're unfortunately throwing it all away, either by poor daily habits, either just getting involved with the wrong crowd. So really my passion is to not only invest in people, but to invest back into relationships as well.
Right. Now, okay, we're going to jump back to the childhood
Yeah.
because about The Journey is Real, we're all about the journey. How did this start for you? Because that is a unique passion.
Yeah. So stepping really far back, I was born about 2.5 to 3 months early. And I was born about 2 pounds, 2 ounces. And literally by the grace of God, like I lived, I'm extremely healthy, 20/20 vision, physically fit, all of that. And I realized that in about eighth or ninth grade, when I started getting more involved with my church organization and everything like that. And I really realized like, okay, like I'm blessed to be on this earth right now by the grace of God. And I kind of got to put on my heart of like, okay, I think I have all these strengths of communication, interacting with people, being extremely extroverted. Like, how can I utilize these to help other people out? So at an early age growing up, I realized like, again, a lot of my friends weren't really reaching their full potential. I grew up in a middle class family with some amazing parents, but unfortunately at times I don't think they were able to reach their full potential. So it all started from honestly being born 2.5 months early to then fast forwarding to early high school to realizing that, to then now obviously doing everything I can to help others kind of reach their full potential, help others reach their passion, etc.
Okay, now how do you do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's multiple avenues. Like literally, there's so much you can do. And before I go into this, I mean, I'm only 24 years old, coming up on 25. So obviously, with that said, I don't have an extreme amount of credibility to be able to say, hey, I built this big company. Come look what I did. You should follow me, etc. So I have to kind of get innovative with my approach. So number one, it's by my own podcast, Next Level Minds, where I interview people who have extreme credibility, who've overcame adversities, failures, and reached their next level, reached their next potential. Obviously, I distribute that out. And additionally, another way that I always do it is I unfortunately used to have like a fixed mindset. If somebody, gave me a call or just wanted to chat, I would always think, this would be a random person, by the way. I'd always think, oh, like they're trying to sell me something. Um, and that's a common thing now in 2020 for that to happen. But I've really opened up my mind and just opened up essentially my heart to have conversations with random people I meet through my network. I'll give you an example. The other day, I had an individual on LinkedIn just randomly say, hey, I heard you on this podcast from 2 months ago. I just started out working. Like, I would love to talk to you. And originally I was like, oh, is he going to try to like, force himself to send his resume? Like, and, I was like, you know what, I'm going to talk to him.
Especially on LinkedIn, you're like cringe when you see the messages pop up. You're like, oh no.
I know. And then you're like, should I respond? Should I not? But fortunately I responded, and now we talk probably a couple of times a week. And I'm essentially like unintentionally low key his mentor and helping him kind of grow. And I think that all comes back from just being open to those type of conversations.
Well, and you have to. I shared before we started that in 2016, I went septic. And,
Yeah.
prior to that, there's a lot of stuff that I had to overcome to get to that point, but I was still kind of plateaued. When I reached over that goal of, getting healthy again from that situation, um, I took it and I ran with it because I figure, you know what, our time is limited, and that was my reality check. People need a reality check sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think reality checks, just like the one you mentioned, they unfortunately come with a lot of challenges.
They
Just
do.
like, yeah, just like you mentioned going septic.
Mhm.
But I think if you can overcome that initial challenges,
Mhm.
right, and then push yourself to move forward, like not only will you grow yourself, but unintentionally, I think you're going to inspire others to grow as well if you react to the situation positively.
Exactly. The most strongest people that I know, I don't know if that's grammatically correct or not, but
Yeah.
the strongest people that I know are ones that have overcome adversity. They've overcome challenges. Stuff has been tossed in front of them. The least motivated people I know is where stuff has come easy for them. And, they take life for granted. And to me, that's painful to see.
Oh no, absolutely. And like this brought up kind of a very brief story, but um, going back a little bit, touching on my childhood, I remember at one point, my dad, because my mom just got surgery, he was working a full-time job. He was working overnight at a grocery store as a stocker, and he was bartending on the weekends to
Good
support the
heavens.
family. And at that time, he was like 60 years old. So like I'm 24. I don't even know if I have that much energy. um, and anyway, like his attitude with all of that adversity and all of that just grind, grit, and challenges, it was so positive that it was like, wow, I'm over here complaining that I have a high school test to take, and this man's working 100 hours a week and having an amazing positive attitude. So I think that's like a good example of just rubbing off on a good attitude right there.
Exactly. And the better off you are, the stronger you are, the more you can inspire those around you to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you probably know too with your work. I mean, that's just so rewarding at the end of the day.
Yeah, and talking to people with the Journeys Real podcast, there's a lot of people that have overcome stuff, and they've taken them and they've turned them either into charities, or they've turned them into, like, for example, they've turned it into like a, I want to say a business, because it's not really a business. It's inspiring others.
Yeah. Do you think like I used to think like this a lot where if I'm going through a particular challenge, I would always think I'm the only individual experiencing that challenge when
That's yeah, that's
everyone
actually
else
one of
is.
that's actually one of the key reasons why I started the Journeys Real. I talk to people who do have challenges on purpose, because in social media everyone tries to put that mask on of that everything is great and life is great, and they're not going below the surface. On the Journeys Real, we go way below the surface. We touch subjects that not everybody wants to touch, and I do it on purpose so people realize that, you know what, you're not alone. There are others that have faced this stuff, and this is how they dealt with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. And that's authenticity right there at its
Mhm.
finest.
Yeah, and I keep the interviews as raw as possible for that reason, because when we start venturing down some of those bunny trails, that's when the real rawness comes in, and that's when people really start to see the real person behind that social media mask.
Yeah, no, and I think it's so unfortunate looking just on Instagram and even Facebook, and you think somebody's doing really well, but a lot of times unfortunately it's just a front at the end of the day.
A perfect example is one of my favorite actors, totally broke my heart when he committed suicide, was Robin Williams. In
Mm.
front of everybody in the entire world, he always had this smile on, this positiveness, this energy about him. And come to find out, he was struggling with depression this whole entire time. Had he shared that with people and gotten help with them, he might still be with us. And he was unbelievable. He was in a class of his own.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, to your podcast, that's why it's important to have real people,
Mhm.
because unfortunately it's tough to bring those like situations to depression, for example, up to people who aren't real. So I think it's important to surround yourself with a network of real, authentic people, because those are the people at the end of the day that you're able to be like, hey, look, man, I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with these type of thoughts. Like, can you guys help me out here? Because
Mhm.
I feel like if you bring that up to somebody who's a quote unquote fake, like you're going to feel kind of nervous to bring that up because you're like, oh, their life's so glamorous. Why would I bring up something so negative like this?
Yeah, and it's not. Everybody has, I say everybody, probably about 90% of people do have something that they're hiding. There's
Yeah.
something that they're carrying, whether it's depression, anxiety, whatever it is, especially nowadays. Being, on lockdown for months on end is going to trigger a lot. You've got military people that have PTSD. You've got domestic violence survivors. You've got child abuse survivors. There's a lot of people, drug abuse, that are out there that people are afraid to venture into because they're afraid of what somebody might think of them. And
Mm.
when I find somebody that's willing to talk about it, we blow away every single wall that's around us, and we just have a real raw conversation so people realize that, what, you are not alone. And that's one thing, like I said, I loved about hearing your passion for people and guiding them toward their passion. When somebody's working, you can tell if somebody's working or if somebody's working with their passion. If it's their passion, they're like fired up, ready to go, and it's not really work. When it's work, it's like, oh gosh, I got to go clock in, I got to go clock out. And it's painful for them. And that starts to weigh on the psyche and on the body. People don't realize that.
Yeah, no, and it's like, oh, that's so true. You can tell again when people are working or if they're striving towards their passion, as I like to say. But something that helps me out sometimes is, if I'm having a bad day at work, which I'm sure everyone out there has their fair share of bad days, I always try to translate whatever task I'm doing at hand
Mhm.
to my passion of inspiring others. So an example is, I make annual economic business reports for cities in the Southeast, but we also have to sell advertising space in there. And sometimes if I'm reaching out to potential clients, like, oh my gosh, I've called 50 people. I really don't want to reach out to somebody
I don't want
else.
to get fun again.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, rejection, rejection. But then I asked myself, I'm like, you know what? Like closing this deal, sending this to my team, that's going to naturally inspire others because they've seen the hard work that I put in. And then that kind of like instantly puts me back into gear.
Exactly. I mean, you're not always going to have a great day, but that there is always something great in every day. You just got to find it.
Yeah, I think, and it's like looking for those opportunities. I do a lot of journaling. At first, I thought it was kind of odd because I'm just like, oh, I'm just writing things down. Like, what the heck? um, and then I realized, like, wait a second, like all these things that started coming to my mind. Like, naturally, I'm writing, like, today was a good day. This happened. This happened. This will happen. And that's just instantly like, I'm sure I've had bad days, but I never go to bed in a bad mood. Like I'm
Mhm.
always like, you know what, today was a great day because number one, you're still breathing. I mean, that by itself is just amazing.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Is your heart beating? Okay, then you're good. Not everybody has that option. Not everybody wakes up in the morning. You do
yeah.
a podcast, which we've touched on. How do you utilize that venue to help others find their passions?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first off, I'm very collaborative with my listeners. So I'm really active on Instagram, typical millennial, and LinkedIn. And with that, I'm always posting snippets of the podcast and asking, so, hey guys, like, what do you guys want to hear? What themes do you want to hear? What people do you want to hear? Kind of directly going back to my listeners. So, I'll put out surveys all the time of, hey, what themes do you guys want to hear? What topics? And I've had one in mind, but then I've had, 100 people comment one particular topic, and I've kind of just drastically switched my approach
Mhm.
because I think that's going to give back the most of actually like, bringing your listeners or bringing your target audience kind of the value that they wish to hear from you.
Good. I like that. So, people who want to get a hold of you and find out more about you, how would they find you?
Yep. So there's LinkedIn, which is just if you type my name in, Chris Chapman on Google Chris Chapman LinkedIn. It'll be the first link that pops up.
Mhm.
And then Instagram's a good avenue. I will respond back to a DM within 48 hours, I promise.
Oh, you're better
Um,
than me. I go weeks.
yeah, so it's tough, but I've been really trying to respond back to all of them. So Chris Chap is where you can find me on there as well.
Chris Chapman 1, correct?
Yes, for LinkedIn, and then for Instagram, it's Chris and then Chap, CHAP. So
Okay,
Chris
good.
Chap.
And how do they find your podcast for those who are interested in finding out more about that?
Yep. Next Level Minds. So it'll just be NEXTLEVEL MINDS.
Perfect. Okay. We have a few minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, of course. Honestly, like to anybody listening out there, I'm a big advocate that every problem out there has a solution. So there's no secret that we're in a troubling time in 2020 right now. You know, individuals have lost their jobs. They may have unfortunately even lost family members, friends, etc. But I think every single problem out there does have a solution. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It's just number one, keeping your mindset correct, surrounding yourself with proper people and just individuals in general. And then number three, really just, to be honest, journaling, like writing down where you want to be, writing down what you're grateful for, and really just keeping your mind in the positive perspective that it needs to be in right now.
Yeah, there's something about seeing it in black and white that you can't deny it. I was a
Yeah.
counselor for a little while, and we used to take like 3 lines and we'd write down their memories on the way through, and we start to pick out patterns that way. And there's something about them seeing it in black and white going, oh, holy cow, I never even saw that before now. You know, when you have it in black and white, whether it's journaling or some people write stories like me, you know, I'm an author. I put my stories into stories. Some people like drawing or painting different things, you know, whatever it is, it's coming from your heart. You have to get it out in a healthy way.
So true. So true. And like putting things in black and white. I mean, I'll show you an example. This is right above my desk.
Oh, there you go.
It's just, I literally wrote out my ideal life and just, 7 bullet points. And then I look at that every day, and then I'll kind of plan, okay, like here I am right now. I want to be here. What are steps I can take today to
Mhm.
get to that, ideal life, quote unquote.
Exactly. I mean, I have a dry erase board that's on the other side of this computer and it's dropped into sections and how I need to fix it and, you know, where I need to go to keep everything balanced. So
Yeah.
I
And it's,
totally get it.
you got to have a destination. I mean, would you get in a car and just start driving? I mean, maybe, but you wouldn't be kind of a waste of time. So
I mean, you
you
can
gotta,
stop at different places on the way through, but you have a final actual goal there in the end, you know, however
yeah.
it looks. But well, Chris, you've been a joy to talk to today. So thank you so much for coming on. Again, for those who are interested in finding more about Chris on LinkedIn, he is Chris, CHRIS, Chapman, CHAPMAN, the number 1. On Instagram, he is Chris Chap, you said?
Yeah, that's it.
CHRISCHAPCHAP. And
Yep.
then you can check out his podcast, Next Level Minds, NEXTLEVELMINDS. Thank you for coming on today, Chris. And thank you all for listening to The Journey is Real. We talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. I'm CJ Peterson of cjpetersonwrites.com. Until next time.